Okay, so where we just left off, we actually had our first CSV file from the Python script. So basically, we should have around 7,000 rows of data. We should have 3 columns. We've got the stock name, we've got the stock price, and we've got a timestamp associated. We need to get that into our database. So I'm going to hop on over to my other computer, and let's see. We'll do a new query here, connect to the database, and we'll start up Visual Studio, and we'll start a new project. Now, of course, this is not best practice. I'm just going to hop over here into the business intelligence tools. So you need to make sure that you have downloaded your SQL Server data tools, and we're going to do an integration services project. Let's just call this Python grab or Python to SQL Server. Okay, don't really care about that too much right now. Let's let this guy load up. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can create your tables from Visual Studio, but I personally, if you're going to be working in a database, I prefer to work in the database. So I'm going to go ahead, first things first, cap lock, I'm going to create a database. And I'm going to call this Python database. Go. So let's just get this guy at least started. So this is where we're going to work. Let's create a table. Python table, and we'll call this table 1. And we know that we've got 3 columns like we just said, so we're going to say the first one is going to be stock name, the second one is going to be stock price, third one is going to be stock date time. And for right now, we haven't inspected this at all. We've got about 7,000 rows, so we're not going to be short at all on, wait a second, let's make sure that we're actually using the right database. So use Python DB go. Do that. So right now we're just in the inspection phases. So let's not even pretend like anything we're doing right now is full on accurate. So we're just going to go varchar. CHAR. And we're going to set these at, let's just go ahead and say 50, because there's not going to be any stock name or any stock price or any date time that's going to exceed 50 characters. So we'll just start with that. Good. So now we should have table to work with. So what we'll do later on is we're going to change the data types of this right now, but we're not short on space at all, and we just want to get the data in here so we can see what it actually looks like. And then from there, we're going to make our modifications. So let's jump back over here to Visual Studio. First thing we're going to want to do is a data flow task. So this is where you basically bring your data from one place to another. And so let's name this, let's see, Python to SQL Server. We'll hop in here and we will go to, we need to find our sources. So there's sources, it's an OLDB. Actually, no, we're looking at flat file source because we're bringing it from our CSV. So flat file source. Call this, Python source. And we're going to go to our destination, which is our OLEDB destination. So this is our SQL Server destination. We're going to connect these guys. And since we're just doing a CSV to SQL Server, we don't really have to worry about any transformations right now, which is kind of nice. We'll look at something like that later, though. So let's see, where we want this file to come from. So let's browse on over to it. We want to change this to CSV so we can see it. And this is what we want. We want to bring in our output. So let's take a look at this data. One thing, we want to make sure that this knows that there are no headers in here. The format is still limited, which is fine. So this is a pretty simple one. So this is just going to be column 1, column 2, column 0, column 1, column 2. Okay, that looks good to me. And we're going to take that data and put it in our SQL Server that we have here. And we need a new one that's from another project I was working on earlier. So we're in the native SQL Server client. It's not responding. It will in a second. It's just kind of slow. So what I get for only having 8 gigs of RAM. I'll probably go out and buy another stick later on to put up to 16. I think that'll be sufficient. So we're using right now Windows authentication. Enter a database name. So what was our database name? Our database was what? Python DB. So I'm glad that actually is able to do it for us. Okay. Let's get that little IntelliSense there that helped us out. So this is why I went ahead and I created our table before in the server in the database. So we could create our own table over here, but I don't want to create a table. I want to use one that already exists. So we're going to use this Python table 1. And we need to make sure that we map the columns now appropriately. So what we're going to do is we're going to map column 1 to stock name. We're going to map column 0 to stock name, column 1 to stock price, and then column 2 to the date time. That's an important step. We should be able to go on ahead and run this now, and it should populate our table with we're going to see about 7,000 here if everything goes right. So that looked good, and that looked good. Now, if we were doing this from, like, let's say SQL Server to Netezza or something, so like slightly different databases, where this arrow is right here, we'd want to throw in a transformation step. But this is good for right now. Let's give it just a second now we can minimize that. So now, if we go back here, we can select all of the data from that table, and now we actually have some data here. So remember, we said these are varchars. So honestly, the name being a varchar is probably fine, and we might shorten that string later on, but it doesn't really matter right now. This right here, we'll want to do something with this because these brackets are ugly. Having quotes are ugly. I don't really even want the $sign because we're going to know that this is a dollar amount. So we'll want to do something with that. And also this right now is treated as a varchar, but truly we want this to be a timestamp of some sort. So that's something we're going to consider later on. Some other things that we're going to want to look at are going to be, since we want to schedule this job to bring in new data automatically. So we're going to want to capture the fact that when we have what? Let's see how many we have. Let's say, I'll just keep this here for right now. Select. So let's just see how many rows we have. But this one we have 6,700 rows. So you multiply that out, 2 times, you get 1,200 rows, 12,000 rows, and you can see that it's going to expand rapidly. And so you're going to have basically a union